What's going on, folks? Welcome to Week 16 of the NFL season. This is the Pigskin Previews and Knuckleheads Pigskin Preview Show. Week 16 is here, so this is where the picks starts to become a little bit more difficult because you have teams that are fighting for their lives, and you have other teams that have pretty much packed it in. So that'll be something that we'll talk about as we move on. We're lucky enough to have the entire crew with us. We got Blaine, Shane, Mr. Hirsch, and myself. So let's just get right into it. And actually, we're going to start with Shane here. I'm sorry, with Mr. Hirsch, and we will get to Baltimore Blaine last since it's his team. But games where a team still has a shot and a team pretty much gave up a long time ago. So let's look at Indy and Baltimore. I don't really have too much to say on this except for Baltimore is a fourth quarter of the season team. Their season, they've been there before, and Indy gave up a long time ago. So I think Baltimore is going to absolutely crush them. I'm looking 2 or more touchdowns. But if there's any little tidbits of information that you guys can think about or any specific players you want to look at, I'd love to hear who Blaine thinks is going to step up and crush this week. But besides that, Mr. Hirsch, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. What's the line on this one?
On this one,
13.
13.
13 Ravens. Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be more than
Baltimore.
that. I think it's going to be more than that. And I think this is Joe Flacco's big chance to really step up and get that throwing arm going and put some points on the board. He's up against the Colts defensive coverage. It should be easy pickings for him. I'm gonna guess that the Ravens are going to win by at least 3 touchdowns.
Okay. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, they're going into Baltimore. Everything's going their way, no question about that right now, and playing against a very, very, very weak and beat up Indianapolis team that's almost like everyone else is looking to figure out what they're going to do in the offseason. So guys now are just kind of, are we here? Or am I going to be traded? What's going on? So I'm taking Baltimore by 17 on this one. I think they're going to do the 2 touchdowns and a field goal is going to get them.
Well, guys, who do you think is the highest scoring team in the AFC in the second half since week 8?
I'm guessing since you're that specific, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens.
It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens, actually third in the NFL overall behind the Eagles and the Rams. Ravens are scoring 30.7 points per game. The Colts are among the bottom dwellers in that category. They are either 31 or 32. I forget which one. I agree with Shane. It's going to be I could see a 2-score, 17-point, or rather 3-score, 17-point difference in this game if the Ravens come and play and don't dilly-dally around like they tend to do with these teams sometimes. Then again, I could see a close game where you have the Ravens, like I said, dilly-dallying around and almost letting this one get away. We in Baltimore are used to this. The Colts come down. I mean, Colts. Blasphemy. The Ravens come down to the last 2 weeks of the season where they are a shoo-in to get into the playoffs, and they screw it over somehow. But that being said, I'm going to stick with the Ravens. I think you'll be seeing Ryan Mallett in the fourth quarter rather than Joe Flacco because they'll sit Joe Flacco because they have such a comfortable lead. Watch for Alex Collins to go off, and this defense to Alex Collins, yeah, and watch for this defense to go haywire.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, that the Indy throws more picks than almost the Browns. So the next one, obviously, we're gonna go. We'll go this time instead of having the home guy go last, we'll let him go first. Green Bay at Minnesota. In Green Bay at the beginning of the season, this looked like this was going to be a great game, but we got no Devontae Adams, no Rodgers. But the line started at 10 points and it's down to 8. So in some places 8.5, some places 8. So it looks like some people think that Green Bay could put up a bigger fight than a lot of people think. I think that Minnesota is going to control this game with the short passes, with McKinnon and Raiders. Number 25. Well, the running game and their defense is going to slow Green Bay down. I think they keep this as kind of a lower scoring game, but I think it's pretty lopsided. I think that I'm going to have to say that Minnesota is going to pretty much stop. It's going to be a little bit of a boring game. 2 boring games on Saturday with 2 defenses and running games controlling it. Mr. Hurst, tell us what we need to know about your Packers.
Well, of course, everybody knows that Aaron Rodgers is on injured reserve. And so this is going to be Mr. Hundley's show. The Packers have re-signed Joe Callahan, who they let go off the practice squad. And I'm thinking that not only is a backup for Hundley, but also because they're going to probably lose Hundley next year. Surprisingly enough, I was looking at some predictions this morning, and Elliot Harrison, an analyst at NFL.com, predicts that the score will be Vikings 30, Packers 27. Now, anybody who wants to, use whatever I say about this game for making a bet is out of their mind, because what I'm saying is if the Packers could get that close, they can maybe win at home. So, and we've all done this. I mean, like picking the Seahawks against the Rams, picking the Ravens against the Steelers. I mean, and Shane's always picking the Raiders. So I'm gonna go with the Packers. It's a long shot. They don't have any skin in the game as far as the playoffs go, but I think they still are a team that has something to prove. Minnesota must win this one because they're fighting for seeding position. So it might be an interesting game, contrary to what Chris thinks.
Yeah. Stay on brand, man. Stay on brand. I love it.
No, yeah. Well, you know what? I agree. I think it's going to be. I actually think it's going to be only won by a touchdown. I think Minnesota, though, is going to win this one by a touchdown only. I think going into the cold into Green Bay is going to be a little bit more challenging for Minnesota, but I think that defense is very, very strong. They're a strong defense, and I think they're going to be able to put the pressure on Green Bay's offense. That's why I'm taking Minnesota on this one. And you're right, they do have something still to play for as well, and they got to keep that. Coach Zimmerman's going to keep those guys hungry for this too. They understand what it's a little bit more about now, and I think Case Keenum is going to step up to the plate, and I think the run game is going to be a factor as well. So I'm taking Minnesota, but I'm taking them by a touchdown.
I think this one's going to be close as well. It's a divisional game, as has been pointed out. Minnesota needs to still playing for something. The Packers aren't really, except for pride at home. But I don't think I think that Minnesota is a superior team right now because they're the healthier team. But I think that this being a divisional game, I would be foolish to think that Minnesota is going to run away with it. But I will take the Vikings in a close one.
All right, so then we move on to Sunday, and here's another one that I don't think should be that close. But Vegas disagrees with me, and I know that looking at home dogs can tend to, that's kind of my thing. But Detroit and Cincinnati, I don't see Cincinnati really being able to mount much of a defense against Detroit. They're kind of beat up. They got tons of problems. The coach is quitting. They get Mixon back, but I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference in this game. If you look at some of the numbers that the Bengals have given up, and then the one weapon they do have is A.J. Green, and one of the few things on defense that Detroit has is Darius Slay, who's turned into being pretty much a good shutdown corner. I think they may be able to slow the game down and run on the Lions a bit, but I think the Lions' offense is just going to be too much. So even though I love to pick those home dogs, I still think Lions, because they're fighting for a playoff spot, because they have a lot to play for. Well, I want the Lions to lose for playoff reasons. I just don't see it. They're giving up way too many points to too many positions. The Bengals are. Eric Ebron's been looking good. They don't really have him on the outside to stop their receivers. I just don't see how this goes, so I'm going Detroit.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with you. And once again, I don't have the line in front of me. What's the line on this game?
Detroit by 3
Detroit.
going into Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. I definitely picked the Lions all the way, but I'm going to pick them by 10. Shane?
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you there, Mr. Hirsch. I think Detroit's going to take this one by 10 as well. I think Stafford's going to have a bit more of a heyday out there, and it's probably in his fourth quarter as usual. But like I said, Cincinnati you're right, that team has just gone downhill. The coach quit on the team in the season, for Pete's sakes, and stuff. And these guys just don't know what's going on anymore. So, yeah, Detroit by 10.
I'm going Detroit by 2 touchdowns on this one. The Bengals are just playing. They're playing uninspired ball right now. They're just mailing it in. Hopefully they'll do that same thing next week when they play my Ravens. But I think the Lions have something to play for, so they're going to come out and they're going to play their game, and the Bengals are just not going to be inspired enough to stop them. Detroit by 14.
All right, so next we have another blowout. There's a lot of blowouts this week, actually. Another blowout, Kansas City at home against Miami. Kansas City has to win. They're at Arrowhead. It's a 10.5-point spread, 10.5, depending on where you look. I think this is pretty much – Miami can't really stop anyone on the ground, and they have problems giving up yards to the tight end, and they give up some of the most explosive plays of 20 yards or more to fast outside receivers. That basically describes the Kansas City offense. And then Miami with smoking Jay Cutler has to go play in the cold in Arrowhead with Kansas City looking at the playoffs and all the crowd into it. No way. Not a chance. Kansas City all the way.
Well, I agree with you on that one, Chris. And although everybody knows how I feel about Jay Cutler, he should be able to handle the cold. He played for years in Chicago, and they have an outdoor stadium there. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs by 2 touchdowns. I don't think that the Dolphins are going to be able to stop them either on the passing game or on the running game. Shane?
Yeah, you know what? This game it's almost like I'm thinking, is Miami going to do like what they did to the Patriots against the Chiefs? And I'm going, half of me says no, the other half is going, I don't know, because Kansas City can be a little interesting at times too. I don't think it's going to happen though. I'm going to go with everybody. I'm going to take Kansas City, but I somehow wouldn't be shocked if it did. But I do, if Kansas City can play their game at home and do it right and get Hunt running like he knows how to, then, yeah, they're going to score. And I think he's going to have a big game against them by 2 touchdowns.
If the Chiefs win this game, they clinch the division, if I'm not mistaken. And I see them doing that. I don't see the Dolphins. I picked the Dolphins last week, and they came out, and got annihilated by their divisional rival, the Bills. I don't see them going into Arrowhead and doing any better. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs by 10.
All right, so next we have another blowout. And just don't forget, folks, that Miami did beat the Pats a few weeks ago. So, back in your mind, it's not like a completely insane prospect, but
that was their
kind of insane.
That was their Super Bowl.
Yeah, they can rest their head on that for the next 12 months.
I think they beat themselves. The Patriots did. I don't know what was the matter with Tom Brady, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, it happens. It happens. Well, this game started at 10.5 points. Now it's up to 12-point difference. I think Brady needs to get that machine oiled and ready to go. There are some crazy stats about Gronk when he plays Buffalo. Part of that is because of the fact that he's from Buffalo. So when he plays in Buffalo, he catches for a ton. Those of you who play fantasy, Gronk needs 16 more catches for a $5 million bonus. That one game suspension really hurt him. So he has 2 games to get 16 catches for $5 million. And if you don't think that he said to Brady, "Yo, that's $5 million, man," I think crazy. I think that's one of those little tidbits that us fantasy geeks kind of dig into. That could be big. There's no Rex Burkhead with a sprained knee, but that doesn't matter because they have 50 other people that can go and just tear that team up. This is where Bill Belichick's defense really starts to come through. They're fighting for home field. Even though they pretty much got it, but you never know. So they're actually something to somewhat fight for. But I just don't see it happening. I think that New England hits them hard, hits them fast, and doesn't take their foot off the gas.
Well, I agree with you there. I'm going to pick the Patriots by 17. I don't think that we're going to see a repeat of what happened in Miami. I think the Patriots are serious about getting that number 1 seed, and they're going to sew it up coming into Buffalo. And bye-bye Bills, because the Bills need to win this one to actually stay viable in the playoff race. So bye-bye Buffalo. Hello, New England. Shane?
Yes, so you know what? I think this is going to be a game that I think Brady and the offense are going to be able to do a little bit more things that maybe they might want to implement later on for some of the other games that they're going to be playing in the next couple of weeks, especially going to playoffs, to fine-tune everything. And I think they're going to be able to pick at the Buffalo defense and pick them apart. I do like, again, Buffalo's running back there and everybody, but I just think that there's no way in the world Buffalo's going to pull this one off in New England. So, yes, I'll take New England by 2 touchdowns, 14 on this one.
I'm looking at another divisional game here. Bills played very well last week against the Dolphins. Bills have a defense that you don't just gloss over. Patriots defense is average, but you have a Patriots team that this is the time of year that they just turn it on. I keep going back and forth, but I think the Bills are going to go into Foxborough and have reminiscence about the rough times that they had in Foxborough. Although I'm pulling this one close. I'm going to say Patriots by 3. This is not the Patriots team that I'm used to seeing. There's something about this Patriots team that's not right and unfamiliar. So I'm just not putting all of my faith in Tom Brady and the Patriots right now. But I will say that they'll take this game by 3.
All right, so next we have the Browns going into Chicago. I'm done with my Browns takes. I almost hit one of them, but I'm done with these guys. I'm done. I took my shots. I missed. I've done well with the Bears at home, and even though the Bears are beat up, I think the Bears with that running game. Trubisky 2 weeks ago had the best game of his career. Last week he fell on his face. I think this is a great. Let's get Mitch going. Let's get some confidence going to lead the season, and then this defense. DeShone Kizer, I'm not sure if he knows which team. I think he forgets which jersey he's wearing sometimes, especially in the red zone, because he likes to throw it to the other team a lot. This might, have some scoring potential. This might be a sneaky shootout for the over, but I don't see any way. And I think that Kizer, they'll leave him in there because why not at this point? But I think the Bears defense is going to eat. I think the Bears running game is going to eat. The line's at 6.5, and it's one of the lowest scoring games on the slate. Low scoring at Soldier Field is always going to go towards the Bears. So Bears by 7 to 10, but I bet it looks worse on tape or on TV than the score is actually going to look.
Well, Chris, I'm going to flip the script on you. I'm going with the Browns on this one.
There you go.
When I saw this one, I thought, now, Chris, now. But no, So, but I'm going to take the Browns. Believe it or not, the Browns are allowing the fewest rushing yards per attempt in the league at 3.3 per carry. Obviously, if they lose this one, they're going to lock up the number one pick in the drafts. But I still think that they want to win a game. And I think this is the one that they can win. I think they can stop the Chicago running game. And if they're lucky, they'll put enough points on the board to win by 3. Shane?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to go with the Browns on this one too. And there's been some games that Browns team has played, and it's kind of shocked you at times. And I'm just thinking they got to pull one out. And I think the team that they can do it against is going to be the Bears. I just think I know it's going to be tough going in there, whatever it is. But I just think they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's finally get this one. And Chicago is by far not a team that can't be beaten, that's for sure. And I think the Browns can do it. I think the Browns can beat them. So I'm going to take them by 3, though. I'm taking them by 3.
Great minds think alike, Shane.
Are you guys looking at my notes? What the hell? I thought I would be the only one to take the Browns in this game.
Come on in, Blaine.
Am I really going to stand alone against the Browns after standing with the Browns? You know that means that the Browns are going to win, right? Like that's that's the jinx of all jinxes.
This was to be the game that I was going to separate from the rest of the pack here, and I'm saying the Browns by 3. I don't understand how they're going to. You got 2 young quarterbacks here. I think Trubisky is a step ahead of Kaiser at this point, but somehow DeShone Kizer pulls this one out. The Bears, their defense, they have a decent run defense to stop the Browns' run game. So it's going to have to come on Kizer, I believe. The Browns have a very good run defense. So I think that's going to make the difference. It's going to come down to a turnover. And I think it's going to come down to a 3-point last-minute field goal, which, of course, that's redundant because every field goal is 3 points. Okay, I get it. But, yeah, I'm going Browns.
All right, my young stats Padawans who are starting to throw stats at me now. Let me tell you about a little stat on that run defense you didn't check, which is the last 5 games as opposed to their season average, in which case they've dropped from one of the top 8 all the way down to the 25th. So just be careful of throwing stats at stat guy. But I think, you know what, it could happen, and I think it's absolutely hilarious poetic justice if I go all in on the Browns 2 weeks in a row by myself, and then you guys jump on me and I go against the Browns. And I do it.
Well, you know, I watched that game against the Ravens last week, and they absolutely stuffed the run. They stuffed Alex Collins. No, not too many teams have been able to do that. And then it reminded myself, oh yeah, the Browns do have a decent run defense. But I didn't know about that stat that you just put out there. But I just saw just from my eye, you know, that last game.
Well, they lost Jamie Collins. They lost their number 1 run stuffing D tackle. And there's a couple other guys they lost. I think that has a lot to do with it. So,
and there's
go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's questions about Myles Garrett hitting the wall as well.
Yeah, well, he's been hurt. He's been hurt all season. He's been hurt all season. He's never really come back from that. So I think maybe he'll come back better next year. All right. So here's an interesting game in our favorite NFC South. I think this is another example of a team that needs to win and a team that's kind of given up. That would be Tampa Bay and Carolina. I think that Cam right now is, while he might not be my favorite guy on the field, when he starts to get rolling confidence-wise, it can be dangerous. And he's going against the team that has given up the most fantasy points to, or one of the 2 quarterbacks and wide receivers. Plus, they can't stop running backs out of the backfield. And they have problems against the tight end. O.J. Howard might not be playing. Deshaun Jackson might not be playing. This game looks like and it's in Carolina. I think this is just the shotgun to Old Yeller's head.
Chris, OJ Howard, I read today was on IR, or at least he was listed on IR.
Well, he's not. I don't think he's gone to IR yet. Maybe if it happened today and I missed it, then I apologize and thank you for that, sir. I know that he was hurting during the week and he was not certain to go. But if he's been put on IR, that would make a lot of sense. There's no reason to keep putting him out there. Keep your number one draft pick going.
Well, let me put it this way: I had him on my fantasy team, and they listed him as IR, so I dropped him.
Okay, well, if it says IR next to his name, then he's on IR. So there you go. That's even more reason. So I think Carolina's coming in hot. They're getting pumped up. Cam's playing good. They got their weapons kind of healthy. Defense is playing lights out. I don't see how the Bucks do this. I'll keep it closer because it's a division game. But I don't see how they score points or anything. So I'm going to go 30-23 Panthers to Bucks. Actually, 30-21 because I think they get a couple of lucky late touchdowns. But I don't see how else they would do it.
Yeah, what's the line on this one?
Shane, you got that in front of you? I'm looking up a stat. If you have it.
I had it at it's at 10.5 for Carolina.
Well, Carolina and Tampa Bay have the inverse records. Carolina's 10-4, Tampa Bay's 4-10, and this one I think is a no-brainer. Tampa Bay's coming up to the Panthers' home stadium. I think that Carolina's going to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that watching Carolina play last weekend against Green Bay, I mean, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buildup with Aaron coming back and things like that. And I do think Cam did hold his own out there. He read some great reads. He threw the ball a lot better than I've seen him throw it. So he is coming into his own play. And I think playing against Tampa is going to actually get McCaffrey and the rest of those guys a little bit more running room too to do some damage. So I do think Carolina's going to win this one. I think they're going to take this one by 10.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Shane. I think that a 10-point game. This Panthers team, whether or not this Panthers team is distracted or not, is a question for me. With the announcement that Richardson's going to sell the team over the allegations, the misconduct allegations, and the investigation that the NFL has now taken on. I think that the Panthers will stay focused. I think they not understand that they need to win this game or their season's done. And the Buccaneers, their season was done a long time ago. I'm going to go with the Panthers and with 10.
All right, so here's a game that, for Seahawk and Dallas fans and the other teams that don't belong in the playoffs but still have that little bit of hope left, and for people who just love great football, Atlanta going into the Dome. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I'm going to lean on the New Orleans side because they're at home, because they're hot, and there's just a couple of little things that match up difficult. Atlanta gives up some of the most yardage to running backs coming out of the backfield, most catches, most touchdown catches to running backs coming out of the backfield. Kamara leads the league with Le'Veon Bell as most red zone targets. Drew Brees was the QB 12, 7, and 3 against Dan Quinn defenses the last 3 times out. They're in the two 12 and 7 were both in Atlanta, so that means he's the number 3, and now he's going against a team that an Atlanta team that's been giving up some passing yards. I think that you're going to see a big Brees, Kamara, and whoever else Brees decides to throw a game. I think it's a huge game for Alvin Kamara and a huge game for Brees. But it's the Falcons, and it's a division game, and it's for the playoffs. So I think it stays close, but I think it's going to be high scoring, and the Saints pull it out.
Well, I agree with you on the pick there, and we have to remember that in the last matchup between these two, Alvin Kamara was out for most of the game, and he's ready to play now, and he's going to create a lot of mismatches for the Falcons' defense if they put both Kamara and Ingram in at the same time. Otherwise, they can use the 2-back rotation. I think it's going to easily be a win for the Saints at home by 10 points.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're right. I think that that duo of the run game that New Orleans has right now, the play calling that they've been doing has really worked. It's really worked well. It's allowed Breeze to have a balanced attack. I think he feels much more comfortable knowing that those guys can carry the load and can carry that rock for him and get the extra yardage that they need. So it's taken a lot of pressure off. Atlanta, though, does have a strong front four and middle section of defense. So it will be interesting. I think they're going to have to try to go more to the outside and use that speed. But I will take New Orleans at home by a touchdown on this one. I think they'll win by a touchdown. I don't know how much, if they can do more than that, but I'm taking them by a touchdown.
Another division game here. Excuse me. Another division game here, and the Saints in the Superdome. I think this one's going to be. I'm feeling the score is going to be 27-23 for some reason. And that score just popped into my head while I was just, listening to this. Listen to the other the other analysis that you guys were doing. So I'm going to go with that. I think the Saints take this one. Like you said, Atlanta took the last one for various reasons. But I think the Saints at home will solidify their place in the division. And Atlanta falls short. 27-23.
All right, so next we go to the Redskins and the Broncos. It looks they've put Trevor Siemian on the IR, so it looks like we're going to get another look at our buddy Paxton Lynch, who people forget. Like, Denver moved up to get this guy as the number 1 overall pick. Or as a first round pick. So people never talk about this guy being a huge flop, because I think he's flopped so hard that he's just gone out of everyone's mind. But Washington's a 3-point favorite at home. Started at 4, not about 3.5, 3, depending on where you look. I think the only reason the total isn't higher is because of the fact that Denver still has some remnants of that Denver defense left. But if it wasn't for that, this game would be an absolute blowout. Especially in Washington, even though Washington is, they're kind of out of it and they're not necessarily the happiest people in the world with their team. I don't see any way that Denver can even come close. I don't even see how they're going to score points, to be honest with you. Looking at Paxton Lynch's last few starts. So, and if not him, who? But it's definitely not going to be the only quarterback that could possibly score points. So I'd say that's pretty much the easy one. Shane? I'm sorry, Hirsch.
Well, I'm expecting to see Osweiler in this game, and he looked pretty good against the Colts, but you have to remember that was against the Colts. And that doesn't – this game to me is one of the hardest picks on the agenda here, because I think that they're pretty even in not being the greatest. So I'm gonna go with the Redskins because of home field advantage only. Otherwise, I think it's a toss up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing: reading some few things is that Lynch is coming back after that ankle sprain that he had, which laid him out for 3 weeks. So I don't know how good that's going to be. And there's no question, I do think you could possibly see both of these quarterbacks in there, him and Brock. And either way, they're not going to get the job done. They're both – Brock's going to be gone at the end of that season, as well as Washington. This could be Kirk Cousins' last home stand there. He's going to be a free agent. So I think he wants to wow the crowd as much as possible and get a big victory for himself too. So I'm taking Washington on this one. But I think Washington's going to win by 10. I think they're going to take this one by 10. I think he's going to have a better game, a big game for him.
I think the Skins at home are going to be tough for the Broncos to take on. And I think it's going to be – who's starting? I thought it was Brock Osweiler.
No, it's Paxton.
Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, it's Paxton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brock could play.
No, I definitely think that it's going to be the Skins taking this one then. I would have said by 3, but, with Lynch, it's going to be – yeah, I'll go with the 10.
Let me ask you a quick question, Blaine. Do you think they would win if they had Brock?
I think Brock gives them a better chance at matching up with any team in the NFL. I think he's the better quarterback out of the out of the three at this point.
Well, yeah, I think Simeon's better than all three of them, but I think no matter what, they're on the sinking ship. So, all right, so let's look at the team that whipped me last week. That's on the rise, that's healthy, that's doing well against one of the underachievers of the year in the Tennessee Titans. Um, people sometimes say this is a letdown game. I don't think so. I think the Rams have finally figured out how to play with Son of Bum. I think that offense is clicking. I think Sean McVay is the coach of the year. I think Aaron Donald is an absolute man-child up front that can put pressure up the middle and can stop the run. I think that the Rams go in and just tear this team apart by a good margin. And I think they're fighting right now for that first seed or at least the second. I don't see any way that they let that go down to Tennessee.
Well, I think the Rams by at least 14. What's the line on this one, Shane?
It's actually only by 6.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that at all. That's not going to happen. The Rams are playing at home, such as it is, and they're firing on all cylinders, and there's a lot for them to lose or gain here. So I'm saying by at least 14, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was more of a blowout than that.
Mark, the Rams are playing in they're playing in Tennessee.
Oh, they're playing in Tennessee. Okay, well.
Yeah.
The schedule I'm looking at is backwards then. But anyway, I still think the Rams are going to win by 14 or more. And no question about it because they're rolling and they need to keep rolling. They're fighting for a seed here.
Yeah. You know what? And when you look at the some funny stats here, Titans are 5-1 at home. Rams are 6-1 on the road. I mean, the Rams are a good road team. They know how to play on the road. They're not going into any heavy, crazy weather either. They're going to have that run game going like they have. The coach of the year, without a doubt, he is. And he has got Jared Goff and the rest of that offense running smoothly out there, even during bad plays or bad decisions. They're coming right back on that field and making smart choices. That defense is playing crazy strong out there. That front four is putting so much pressure on the quarterbacks and the O-lines. I mean, they're a young, fast team. And like I said, Tennessee is just suffering, and they're suffering big time. I say Rams on this one by 17. I got Rams by 17.
I have two teams here going in different directions. The Titans are floundering. If they don't win this, their chances are they're going to fall out of the playoff picture altogether. It'll be their season. There are some projections that the Ravens are actually going to end up in the 5th seed. Well, don't laugh. I mean, if they
no, I'm not laughing. I just like the fact that was what led you into looking.
Oh, did I slipped that in there? No, but the Rams, as Shane said, are 6-1 on the road. They're a good road team. The Titans are just floundering right now, and the schedulers didn't do them any favors by this Rams game coming up right now. So all the odds are just too much against them on this. I think the Rams are the superior team. The Titans are just trying to hold on. They're like trying to fend away the sharks as they're cast away on a piece of plywood in the middle of the ocean right now. And the Rams are that ship that's going by that's just not paying attention to them and just going to probably run them right over. So let's go with the Rams at I'm going to say double digits as well, but I'll say 14.
Okay, so next we have a couple teams. We have the Chargers, who are technically like if 30 teams lose and someone ties, they can get in it, but they don't. Going against the Jets, I think that the Chargers are going to do what they do every year, which teases Charger fans, is they're going to finish strong and miss the playoffs, and then everyone's going to say, like I did this year, did you see how they finished? That's the team next year. And they have all this talent, but they have a couple of really important players that are hurt. But I still say that the Chargers are going to do what they do every year, and they're going to finish strong. And Jets are going to do what they always do, and they're going to finish slow. And the Chargers are going to win a game that's not even worth watching.
Well, I haven't picked the Chargers often, often enough, apparently, because sometimes they win. But, yeah, they're still in the playoff mix. But they're coming into New York. Cold weather. It's a West Coast team. I think that's going to be a factor. I can't see – they might just only win by 7 points. What's the line on this, Shane?
It's closer
This
than
one,
that.
well, actually, this one's by 6.5
Oh,
for
Okay.
never
Chargers.
mind.
Well, I'm saying from between 3 to 7 points.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, you know what? I agree with you on that one. I think they're going to only win by 3. The only thing is, like I said, you got Bryce Petty as the quarterback for the Jets, and I don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do out there on some things. I think this is where Bosa is going to have himself a bit more of a good stat game, and that might make a big difference. So if Joey there can get himself moving and the rest of that D line, they're going to put a lot of pressure there. And I do think Phillips will be able to control the game as well and put themselves in at least field goal positions to score points throughout the game as well, if not touchdowns. So, yeah, I'll take the Chargers by 3, though, on this one.
I saw the Philip Rivers that we all know and love last week not take care of the ball. And I was waiting for that to flare up. I thought maybe either, they'll get through the season. Maybe, he would finish the season strong. And as Chris, that was a good point. The Chargers are a tease. I do take the Chargers in this one by single digits, maybe 7 points, maybe even 9 points. But the Jets are done. They played above what we thought they were going to be this year. They were a pleasant surprise to Jets fans, but it's over. I think the Chargers are still trying to play for something. They have slim hopes, and they're going to come out inspired with that. So I'm going to pick the Chargers in this by, like I said, 7 to 9 points.
Okay, on this next game, I'm gonna let you start, Hirsch, since I always go first. I want to hear, maybe there's something you guys have researched on this game that I missed. So I'm gonna wait and make my pick last. But this is Jacksonville going into San Francisco.
Well, I like what Garofalo's been doing with the 49ers, three games in a row. Some of the pundits are talking up Blake Bortles, saying that he's going to be the difference and that he's the only starting quarterback without an interception since week 12, and that he's put up a triple-digit passing rating every time out since week 13, and that's going to make the difference in the game. And I think that if anything is going to, it's going to be the Jaguars' defense. I wonder how Garofalo is going to stack up against the corners there and what he's going to be able to do. And, what's the line on this, Shane?
This one, they've got Jacksonville by 4 going into San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far out of bounds. I think Jacksonville will win this one. I'm going to be rooting for the 49ers. I don't mind being wrong if the 49ers win again because I like Garofalo. And I think that there needs to be a little more competition over there in the NFC West. But I think the Jaguars are going to take this one by more than 3 points. Shane?
Yeah. You know what? Jacksonville, they played tough last weekend. There's no question about it. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. I'm going to take San Francisco on this one. I'm going to think Jacksonville's coming into San Francisco, and I think that Bortles is going to have himself not a great day, and it's going to cost them. And I think Jimmy is going to take advantage of this. And I think San Fran's going to win by that field goal. And it's going to just keep that momentum going. For some reason, I don't know. That's just what I'm feeling on this one. I do like the run game. I do like Jacksonville's got the great defense. Don't get me wrong. They've got the best defense probably in the league. But I just think Jimmy has come into his own groove, and I think that team's believing in him. And playing at home, I think he can do it. So I'm going to give the San Fran by 3.
Shane, I almost went that way myself, but I just couldn't do it. So maybe this is going to separate you from the pack.
It's hard for me to pick Jacksonville twice in a row, 2 weeks in a row, because they've been an every other week team. But I think the Jaguars' defense is going to be enough to. No, yet they up until last week or
Don't
2
they
weeks
have
ago.
like 10 or 11 wins? How is that possible for it to be
Yeah.
every other week?
Go back
Yeah,
and look
you-
at
you
this.
keep-
Go back and look
you
at the
keep
schedule. Other than the Chargers, where they should have won that game, or they should have lost
They
that
won the
game.
last 4 games in a row.
That's what I'm saying. I said they had been an every other week team. But of late they've been winning. But it's still, I feel like I'm gonna pick them and they're gonna let me down. And I'm feeling that even though I'm feeling that this week, that the 49ers may surprise them. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have their defense is going to actually be the difference in this game. They're going to have a pick or fumble recovery that's going to seal the deal for them in this game, or pick six or what have you. It's not going to be Bortles. I don't believe in Bortles. I will not believe in Bortles, and I think Garoppolo is the better quarterback. So yeah, I'm going to take Jacksonville by 3.
Number 1 quarterback in the NFL last 3 weeks. Blake of the House of Bortles.
Yeah.
I'm kind of mad at Shane because I love the home dog. Jimmy G has impressed me. I think he's the real deal. This is the kind of thing that a young team needs. This is the kind of thing that a young team like Jacksonville, who's starting to believe all their hype and they've kind of pretty much clinched everything that they can attain. There's a chance they can get higher up on the seats, but they've clinched their division. I just see this as a total letdown spot. San Francisco at home, trying to prove to the world. Garoppolo at home, trying to prove something. Shanahan trying to sit at work for 25 hours a day, trying to come up with the right thing to show that his new offense can beat the number 1 defense in the NFL. I think this just looks like one of those launching into a new era kind of spots for me for the Niners. So I'm going Niners. So next we got Dallas, Seattle going into Dallas. Zeke coming back. The line started at 2. Now it's up to 4.5 for Dallas. Okay, we all know I'm going to pick the Seahawks, but I think there's so much in the media about how the Seahawks have fallen, the Seahawks has done anything. Watching Vegas move that line, the public is like almost 90% on Dallas. This just shows Vegas is betting on the Hawks. I think that Zeke is going to absolutely run all over the Seahawks and their hobbled defense. But I know that the Cowboys tend to stop to compete, and Russell seems to always just want to compete and do well. So even though, there's a chance, like I've said on the other show, I kind of hope they don't go to the playoffs because I just see it as a chance for someone to blow their knee out in the wild card game. I don't really see it as something where like I'm starting to feel like these guys could get it going. It's just one of those seasons where this is, it's going to have to, rebuild the thing. But if it comes down to Zeke and Russ, I still say there's a good chance for Russ to just come through and do things that only Russ can do. The Dallas pass rush isn't the Rams. So I think that all of you guys are going to pick Dallas. So I'm gonna use my one big separating game to stand with my boys. So I'm going Seahawks.
Well, Chris, Lord knows that I would love to pick the Seahawks over the Cowboys. And that's for personal reasons. But the Cowboys' offensive line is better than the Rams. And the Rams just creamed the Seahawks on the offensive line all day and all night. So,
I just said Zeke is going to run all over the place.
Well, that's right. I just don't know. I guess that it's going to come down to the Cowboys' defense. They're going to have to stop Russell Wilson, but I'm gonna have to go with the Cowboys on this one. Cowboys by 3.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want the Cowboys to win this game, but I do feel that they're going to. And I just think there's a little too many problems going on in Seattle that these next 2 games really are very frustrating for that team and for Coach Carroll as well. I think there's just too much on the plate for him, and I think that team and the injuries that those guys also have too in that defense is gonna catch up in many ways, and it is. I just think Dallas is going to take this one. I think Dallas though is going to win this one by 7. I think Dak is even going to get himself out of that pocket a little bit and take off a few times on them too, just to mix it up as well. So, yeah, I'm taking Dallas on this one.
The Seahawks are really beat up right now with injuries. They're at the end of the season. Hope's all but gone for the playoffs, for the postseason. Okay. On the road in Dallas, where Zeke's coming back. Dak always plays better with Zeke. He doesn't have to carry the team on his shoulders. Less weight. That system works between the two of them. And I think that the Cowboys actually take this by double digits. I'm going to say 14 Cowboys.
Thank you very much. Now I can stand on my possible victory by winning with my boys. So, stick to the guns, and we'll see how it happens. So another 2 teams that are out of it, Giants in Arizona. In Arizona, I think Kerwin Williams has shown that he's got a little bit of pop in him. I think the Giants are more than giving up on this season. So I won't spend too much time on this one. I think Arizona, even though they're not going to start what's his name? They're starting the third string kid. They're not
Stratton.
Stanton. There you go. They're sitting Gabbert, starting Stanton. I still think that Larry Fitzgerald gets sent off with like 15 targets and at home, and they beat up on this Giants team that just wants the game to be over and want to collect the check.
And the line is
Arizona by 3. 3 points.
I'll go along with that. I'll take the Cardinals for 3. Shane?
Yeah, you know what? I took the Cardinals last time and they kept burning me, so I'm going to go with the opposite. I'm taking the Giants. I think Eli's going to do something against them for once, and I think that it's going to be reversed. Giants by 3.
The Giants have been playing inspired and then uninspired, then inspired, then uninspired. I can't put my hopes on the Giants on the road in Arizona. Although the Giants seem to be playing better on the road than they're playing at home. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Cardinals on this one. Cardinals by 3. No, it's by 7.
Okay. So I think this should be a pretty quick one. Even without, one of the best receivers in the NFL, Houston and the Steelers. I think the Steelers are on a run. Houston can't get out of their own way. I'd say that's a pretty quick one, and unless you guys have something you want to jump in on with it.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that the Steelers always play down to their opponents that are not really as good as them. But what do the Texans have? That's the question. So anyway, I'm going to go with the Steelers on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I think after last weekend, Pittsburgh's going to be a little bit more. I think he's going to get more of a run game going on the Texans as well. So I think we're going to get Bell out there doing a lot more damage. So I'm taking Pittsburgh. They got it by 9. I think they'll win by 10.
Who's the quarterback? Is Savage the quarterback in this one?
No, I believe it's Yates. I thought it was Yates.
Oh, no, that's right. No, it is TJ Yates. Yeah,
Yates.
It is TJ.
The one thing that happens with the Steelers is you were right. They play down to their opponent a lot, but they're also not as strong on the road. But that being said, the Texans have no strength whatsoever.
I thought you were going to do it.
No, I'm going with the Steelers, but I think the Steelers are going to make it interesting for a half.
I
Or
never
Texans
thought
are
he
going to
was
make
going to
it.
do it.
I think I think the Texans are going to make it interesting for a half, just like everybody else. Everybody seems to be doing against the Steelers this year, where the Steelers will either take a commanding lead and then drop off and almost lose the game or lose the game, or they're going to have a slow start and then come back and take the game. So I'm going Steelers.
Okay. All right. So for our last game of the night, I'm going to go Philly. But Shane, tell me why Oakland is going to be able to pull this off, because I know you're going to stick on brand.
Of course, I'm going to stick with my Oakland. There's no question about it. You know what? Like I said, they've been robbed by refs. They've had everything happen that can happen to them. They got to do something, and they're going to go into Philly and show that they can do it. They're going to spoil the party with Foles. But you know, the honest truth, though, is when you break it down, Philadelphia is really, I mean, they're a great team. There's no question about it. They're a great, great team when they've got Carson Wentz in it. Foles really does need to produce, though, to make that statement and to keep this team motivated going into the season playoffs. Carr needs to get, and I think Raiders are going to put a little bit of a damper on that. I do. I think Marchand's going to have a good game as well. But like I said, Philly's got too many weapons. If they can use them right, you know, they can cause some damage. But they are a good team. There's no question about it. But I have to stick with my Oakland Raiders. I'm the homer. I got to do it. But I do think if Foles can get a good offensive scheme running, they can do some damage. No question about it.
What's the line on this one, Shane? 10 or 13?
They got it actually Philly by 9.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the Eagles. You know, I've been going with the Raiders too many times this season, and since I'm not a homer, I can desert them without, you know, a crisis of conscience. And I'm gonna pick the Eagles by 10 to 14. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think Nick Foles is going to step up to the mark. The Eagles are no Dallas Cowboys that the Raiders almost beat at home. So I think it'll be pretty much of a miracle if the Raiders win this one. I'm going with the Eagles by 10 points.
I think the Eagles' defense is going to be able to stop Marshawn Lynch a lot easier than the Oakland defense is going to be able to stop Jay Ajayi. And I think it's going to be a heavy run game with Ajayi and the Eagles using the run game to expose the Raiders defense, run defense. I don't think Foles is going to have to do a lot on this. And also the Eagles are looking to clinch home field. So I'm going to go with the Eagles by 14.
There you go, Shane. You and I stand on our sinking ships with our sword in the air, and
what do you mean?
We're going down with the ship.
I'm the captain.
I picked the
Packers.
Oh no,
and Hirsch. That's right. I take that back. And Hirsch. We're all standing on ships.
All the homers are going down.
You're all honorable.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with this one. If Green Bay can win against Minnesota, I guarantee you Philly then is going to sit some of their starters because they can afford to. If Minnesota wins it.
Because they still got to deal with the Rams.
Yeah, they got to deal with the Rams.
But they'll be able to still sit a couple of them for a bit. You watch.
And the Saints, actually.
Well, to deal with the no, you guys need to relook at your deal. If Minnesota goes down, they will play twice as hard. Because if Minnesota goes down, that means the Rams are there. They're in striking distance. That means they're all up close and personal. So if Minnesota wins, and the Rams win, then you might see Philly. Then you might see Philly sit some people. But if those guys lose, Philly will go out there because the playoffs have basically started. So that'll be interesting. Well, guys, great show. We did much better on time this week. And check us out. You're obviously listening to us on our YouTube page. Make sure you check out all of our shows out and what we do on blogtalkradio.com. facebook.com/Mancini Sports. Look for the logo that you see on your screens now, and that is how you'll be able to find us on Facebook at Pigskin Preview on Mancini Sports. We are the Pigskin Preview on the Blog Talk site and on Facebook, so check us out. I'll put a link to our Facebook page in the description at the bottom. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Okay, thanks. Nice picking the games with you again, Shane and Blaine and Mr. Chris Rose. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys. Happy holidays.